السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. All praise is due to Allah. May Allah's peace and blessings be upon His final messenger Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. We praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as He deserves to be praised, the praiseworthy. We have completed matters of sujood as-sahw. Real quick revision. We talked about first the pillars of salah, we talked about the obligations of salah, and we talked about the sunnah actions of salah. And we mentioned what happens if a person leaves one of these actions. طيب. Now, as a revision, if a person leaves an obligation of salah and he remembers after passing this obligation and reaching a pillar, does he go back to this obligation or not? As an example, a person forgot the first tashahhud in salah. The first tashahhud in salah is an obligation. So he forgot this first tashahhud and he stood up and he started a pillar, which is reciting Fatiha. Does he go back? No, he does not go back. He just continues. طيب. Does he need to do sujood as-sahw? Yes, he needs to do sujood as-sahw. So in this case, a person left an obligation. The obligation in this case is the first tashahhud. And we said that the first tashahhud is an obligation. Sitting for it is an obligation. So if a person left this, what if he left it intentionally? Okay, if he left it intentionally, if he left it intentionally, his whole prayer is invalid. But he left it, he forgot. And after he started reciting, after he stood up straight, he remembered. Here we say he does not go back to it. Because he left it and he started the pillar, you do not go back for an obligation. طيب. Now, sujood as-sahw, here he must do sujood, he has to do sujood as-sahw. طيب. This is an example of leaving an obligation. What about leaving a pillar? And give me an example. Who can tell me, gives me an example of a person leaving a pillar and mentioning what that pillar is and what he should be doing? Yes. Or in salah. In salah. Leaving a pillar of salah. Okay, so he forgot one sajda and the sujood is a pillar of salah. So he forgot one sajda. So he prayed, he did one sajda and he stood up. So what did he leave? How many pillars did he leave? He did one sajda and he stood up. How many pillars did he leave? 2 pillars. Huh? How many pillars did he leave? He did one sajda and he stood up. He left how many actions? Okay, first he left how many actions? 2? What are they? Yes, exactly. Yes, don't be afraid. If you know what's right, say it. First, لا بأس طهورا إن شاء الله. No problem, لا بأس طهورا إن شاء الله. So he left 2 he left 2 actions. He left the sujood and sitting. طيب, between the 2 sajdas. So he left 2 actions. And these actions, what are they? Both of them are pillars. طيب. And we said you cannot leave a pillar and just continue praying, and sujood sahw will not suffice for this. So now when did he remember? He remembered after standing up straight. طيب, here is where the madhahib differed. What we studied the Hanbali madhab. We said if he stands up and he starts reciting Fatiha, he cannot go back. We said this. Yes, this is the Hanbali madhab. This is also many of our contemporary scholars, they give fatwa based on this. And this, we do not have, wallahu alam, a clear text regarding when a person can go back. But the Hanbali madhab said if he stood up and he started Fatiha, he cannot go back to something that he missed. طيب, he still needs to make them. He left a pillar. They said, khalas, this first unit, this past unit is abolished. It's as if that it does not exist, and this unit takes its place. I'll just tell you what the other madhabs say. The other madhabs say that, like the Shafi'is say that until he reaches, he still has an opportunity to go back until he reaches the same action in the next unit. The Malikis say that he still can go back until he does ruku'. After ruku' he cannot go back. Look, all of them, subhanallah, yani they have different opinions regarding this, even though there is no clear text in this matter. So khalas. So we said, we chose, for example, the Hanbali madhab here, is that if you stand up straight, reciting Fatiha, khalas, you don't go back. But what do you need to do? You need to make up, this unit will take the place of the previous unit. This is clear, yes? We explained this last month. طيب. So this is if a person left a pillar, and we gave an example of a person left an obligation. A pillar, he needs to go back. If he stood up straight and started reciting Fatiha, he doesn't need to go back, and that first unit is abolished, and this next unit takes its place. طيب. And we said he needs to do sujood al-sahw. Sujood al-sahw for both cases. طيب. What if he finished, he added this unit, he forgot sujood, so he gave an extra unit, and then he forgot to do sujood al-sahw. He forgot to do sujood al-sahw, and he was reminded recently, and he just finished, and he said, Sheikh, you missed her, you did one extra unit, you didn't do sujood al-sahw. He said, astaghfirullah. And then he did sujood. So this suffices him. If it was recent, if the gap was not long. طيب, if he stayed, he started reciting Quran, طيب, and then he forgot, I didn't do sujood al-sahw. This is a long gap. He doesn't need to do sujood al-sahw, and it's خلاص, as long as he finished his prayer completely, he doesn't need even this sujood al-sahw, he's exempted from it, no problem. طيب. When is it a problem after prayer that he needs to go back? If he prayed, for example, 3 units and he was supposed to pray 4. So here he missed one whole unit. So the same example, he missed one whole unit. He was praying Dhuhr, he was late. Okay, after Jama'ah he came by himself, he prayed by himself. He prayed 3 units. And then he sat, he did istighfar, and he started reciting Quran. And then he remembers, astaghfirullah, I only prayed 3 units. But here, what does he do? The gap is long. What does he need to do? He needs to? MashaAllah. Good, correct answer. He needs to repeat the prayer. Why? Because the gap is long. What if it was directly, he remembered? He said, astaghfirullah. What does he need to? Only one, yes. If it was recent, if there was not a long gap, khalas, he just stands up, he stands up, and he just comes with one whole unit, and then he does salam, and then he does sujood sahu. That's it. طيب. If he was doubtful, all matters. If you are doubtful, you always build on certainty. SubhanAllah, this is like a principle on all matters of Sharia. If you're doubtful, you build on certainty. You have 2 numbers. Is it 3 or is it 4? What is more certain? Certain is 3. He's doubtful regarding the 4th unit. So khalas, he says it's 3. Even if it was 4 in reality, but he said, look, I'm confused, I don't know. I'll build on, I'm certain of 3 and I'm doubtful of the 4th. So khalas, you pray 3 and you say, khalas, I'll pray 1 more because this is what I feel I forgot. And then he prays sujood sahw because it could be 4. This could be the 5th rak'ah. But he builds on what is certain. He's certain of 3 and he's doubtful of the 4. So khalas, he builds on 3. The same thing, subhanAllah, in all matters, like tawaf. Is it 5? Did I go around the Kaaba 5 times or is it 6 times? What are you certain? You're certain of 5. Khalas. Build on this and add 2 more. In wudu, you washed your face. Okay, did I wash 1 time or did I wash 2 times? Khalas, at least you're certain of 1. You're certain of 1. Khalas, you want to do more? Yes. Otherwise, So always build on certainty. Same thing in prayer. Okay, number of sajdas. So you're sitting now. So you did 1 sajda and then you forgot. Is this the first sajda or is this the second sajda? You're in sujood. I say, do I stand up or do I sit? It happens. What are you certain? I'm certain this is the first. I'm doubtful this is the first or second. So you build that if this happens on a regular basis, no, don't do this. Khalas, say that no, it's 2 and just stand up. If it happens rarely, you can say to yourself, look, I rarely forget. So I'm doubtful, you say khalas, you build on what is certain, this is the first sujood. And then you continue. But why do I say if it happens regularly, don't pay attention to this? Because this is waswas. If it's regularly, every time, no, this is not normal. then definitely what I'm doing is right, and this is just waswasa. So you don't pay attention to this and you just continue. طيب, any question regarding sujood al-sahu, regarding pillars, regarding forgetting something before we move on? No questions? طيب. Now we start a new section, which is Salatul Jama'ah. What is the ruling of Salatul Jama'ah? Salatul Jama'ah, we have a hadith that the Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, a blind person came to the Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he said, do you find an excuse for me? إِنَّهُ لَيْسَ لِي قَائِدْ يَقُودُنِي إِلَى الْمَسْجِدِ. I don't have someone, to guide me to the masjid. فسأل رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أن يرخص له فيصلي في بيته. He wanted a concession so that he can pray at home. So the Messenger Muhammad صلى الله عليه وسلم, he gave him a concession. He said, خلاص, pray at home. But while leaving, he said, do you hear the prayer call? The Messenger said to this blind person, عليه الصلاة والسلام, do you hear the prayer call? He said, yes. He said, فأجب. Then if you do you hear the call, then reply, as in go to the masjid and pray. Now, this hadith will sound like this prayer in the masjid is an obligation on everyone. But this hadith, the Messenger Muhammad ﷺ telling this person to pray, he said, do you hear the call? Who hears the call to a masjid? How far should he be to hear a call? Remember, back then there were no microphones. So it means that he lives close to the masjid. He lives close to the masjid. He's able to. There's no hardship. Khalas, he's going to go out to see people going to the masjid. طيب. So there's no hardship, inshaAllah. Yani a person living close to the masjid, طيب, you should really have no excuse to come and pray in jama'ah. Now, there are many texts. There are many texts regarding this matter. Salat al-Jama'ah. There are many statements of the companions regarding Salat al-Jama'ah. They let's see what the scholars understood from all these texts. All four Imams agree, and there should be no dispute in this matter, that the best thing for a believer is to go and pray the Jama'ah with the congregation. To pray the obligatory prayer in Jama'ah in the masjid. This is definitely the best thing. The best thing. There is no dispute regarding what is best. طيب. The Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said that a prayer in jama'ah, salatul rajul fil jama'ah, tazidu ala salati fi baytihi wa suqihi, or tazidu ala salati fi wahdi 27 daraja. And some narrations, tuda'afu ala salati 25 ضعفا. It's 25 multiples, 27 levels. So you're missing out on a lot. How many years are we going to be living? This prayer that you pray at home, praying it in a jama'ah, in a masjid, 25 times greater in reward. Not only that, every step that you take to a jama'ah, you're given a good deed and a sin is expiated. Imagine, you're not even paying attention. We're not saying a person whose heart is filled with faith, knowing that he's going, no. Even if you're in the most heedless state, you did wudu at home and you wanted to go prayer and you were on the phone, talking to your friend until you came to the masjid. No, not even thinking. You still get the reward. This is the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because the action is walking to the prayer. You're walking to the masjid to pray. You're sitting with your friend, you're walking to the masjid, talking and chatting, joking, no problem. But you're walking to prayer. You're rewarded with every step that you walk until you get to the masjid. طيب, you sit in the masjid, you pray 2 units. Sunnah, then you wait. Every moment that you stay, you get the angels making dua for you. Allahumma ighfir lah, Allahumma irhamhu. Oh Allah, forgive his sins. Oh Allah, bestow your mercy upon them. Imagine this. You're just sitting in the masjid doing nothing. Just looking at the clock or looking at the timer. You get the dua of the angels. If you had more faith, you were doing some dua, you were doing some remembrance. Your faith increased, you see people doing worship, you see people praying sunnah, you see people reciting Quran. Then it reminds you of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You start doing dua. Dua between the adhan and the iqamah is more likely to be accepted, as the Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said. So many good deeds are done in the masjid. And as an advice, a person who feels depressed, and I always give this advice, A person who feels isolated, he feels depressed, he feels depression. My advice to this person, to go to the masjid at adhan time, before adhan. You say, go to the masjid before adhan time and sit in the masjid and hear the adhan at the masjid. Start applying all these sunnahs. Listen to the adhan. Repeat behind the muadhin. Do the dua. Send prayers to the Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Pray your sunnah in the masjid. Look at the people, the worshippers, pray. Recite some Quran. Make some dua. Pray the jama'ah. Sit in the masjid. Do some dhikr. And if there was some sunnah, pray some sunnah. And then go back home. And tell me that there's no change. There will definitely be a change. There will definitely be a change. Imagine if you do this 3 times at least, 4 times, 5 times, there will definitely be a huge change in yourself. And you know what? You will still feel depressed. You know when? When you miss a jama'ah. You will feel depressed and sad when you miss a jama'ah, because this new feeling that you will get, you will not want to leave it at all. You say, subhanAllah, where was I? And many people when they go to Medina, they say, or especially in Medina, they say, I feel tranquility. Think about it. Where are you? Where are you? You're in the masjid. For how many hours? For many hours. This is also part of it. And he's sitting in the masjid for this amount of hours, doing dhikr, remembrance. This is part of why you feel this tranquility in Medina. Even though Medina is a special place, and everything in Medina reminds you of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, reminds you of the Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He's buried next to you. And also the verses were revealed. You see Jabal Uhud, you see the place. All of these things, and you remember, like this verse that was recited today in Al-Imran. Where was it revealed? In Medina, in Jabal Uhud. This because of the battle that occurred there. So many things remind you of the Messenger and the Medina. But, subhanAllah, a person who wants tranquility, the hearts should be tied to the masjid. The hearts should be tied to the masjid. And the masjid is a place where you will truly find tranquility. Not at home. Not only that, as I mentioned, the dua of the angels, as I mentioned, everything here will remind you of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because if you sit at the masjid, what are you going to see? People praying, people doing dhikr, people reciting Quran silently, sitting, doing dua, waiting for prayer. These are all reminders for you. Reminders for you to think about what is important in your life, which is prayer and worship. That is why my advice to everyone, tell yourself at least once per week when you have nothing, sit in the masjid a bit. Do some remembrance. Come at adhan time. Come at adhan time. Don't say it's too early. No, it's too early for Jannah? What's too early? You want to miss out on reward? Sleep, ya akhi, don't come to prayer. You want the reward from Allah subhanahu, definitely come earlier and earlier. You know what? Ibn Abdul Barr said there's an ijma', consensus of the scholars, that the person who comes earliest will get the most reward. Even if he prays back. Sometimes you see many people coming to the masjid and maybe praying back. And you see someone who comes at iqamah and he prays in the first row. The person who came before, Ibn Abdul Barr saying he's definitely going to get more reward because he came earlier. Of course, given that all other factors are the same in terms of khushu' and all these things. And again, khushu', you come running to the masjid at iqamah time and you claim that you're going to have some khushu', perfect khushu', impossible. No way. No way. A person who came earlier at adhan time, his heart is prepared for khushu'. He is prepared to hear the Fatiha from the Imam. He is prepared to hear the verses. He is prepared to stand up. He practiced when praying sunnah. He sat and he's training himself now that I'm going to be praying an obligatory prayer. So definitely, coming early to the masjid, and praying in jama'ah is something that only a person who is mahroom, who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't want good with, will miss out on these great rewards. So you owe to yourself to do this, especially if you feel some anxiety, something is bothering you, something is worrying. You need someone or something to remind you of your objective. So the obligation on adult males to pray the 5 prayers in congregation. So this is the Hanbali madhab. The Hanbali madhab states that praying in the masjid, the Hanbali madhab states that praying the 5 prayers, it's an obligation to pray it in congregation. Look, they're saying the obligation is to pray it in congregation. They did not say masjid. But they said, and it's preferred for this congregation to be in the masjid. To be in the masjid. Now, if for people who are working and there's no masjid next to them, maybe you have a room, a musalla, where you pray. If you come together and pray together, inshallah you get the reward of praying at jama'ah, the 27. So this is definitely better than praying by yourself. And for those who are praying, why don't you make Muslims praying together at jama'ah time? So you agree, even if it was after adhan by 30 minutes or 40 minutes, you come together and pray together, this is definitely much better. And you get a lot of reward, okay, for doing this. This is something that, it's better than praying it on time and praying it by yourself. Definitely, waiting a bit to pray it together in jama'ah, it's definitely better. Now, the majority, the other 3 madhab said it's preferred to pray it in jama'ah. So the obligatory prayer, it's preferred to pray it in jama'ah. Now when you hear this thing that, the majority of madhab say it's preferred, doesn't mean, look, after everything that I mentioned, what the Messenger Muhammad ﷺ, and he said, even the Messenger, there are some hadith that mention, like Ibn Mas'ud said at our time, no one will delay, no one will pray by himself except a munafiq, ma'loom nifaq, a person who is a hypocrite. We know that he is known to be a hypocrite aslan. Khalas. This is the only person who doesn't get to pray jama'ah at their time. And also at their time, a person would be carried to jama'ah. Carried to jama'ah. He doesn't want to miss jama'ah. You might be saying, isn't this hardship? No, the real hardship on this person is leaving him home. He's saying, carry me to the jama'ah. Let me pray with you. Look at how they used to think about jama'ah, obligatory prayer in jama'ah. They took it very seriously. Ibn Mas'ud said that these are the sunan of huda. He wants to stay firm. These are the sunan of huda. This is the way of the Messenger Muhammad ﷺ. He called to jama'ah. Pray it in jama'ah. So definitely you should try your best not to miss out on this. And I'll just mention some doubts. Some people say it's not an obligation. But regardless if it's an obligation or not, it's not an obligation to go to work. It's not an obligation to get extra money. But you go and do it. You want what is best for dunya, definitely. Why don't you want what is best for your akhirah? It's not an obligation, but subhanAllah, you're only going to be doing the obligation. For the hereafter, for your paradise. So if I tell you, it's not an obligation to live in a house without a window. It's not an obligation, to live in a house with a window. It's not an obligation to live in a house that has more than one room. You can say, what are you saying? Of course, we cannot live. Same thing in akhirah. You want to aim what is best for your hereafter. You want to aim what is best for your Jannah. You want to have the best life, because khalas, once you're settled in paradise, you're not going to go anywhere else. You're not going to have an opportunity to go to another level or to have a better place. Whatever you get, you're going to it's going to be yours, and that's it. So why not aim for something high and something better? Rather than settle for something, that mashil hal, as we say. Something that, just to keep on going, So aim for what is best. Your hereafter is not something that you want to miss out on. Miss out on the dunya, because anyway you're going to be leaving it. Whether you like it or not, you're going to be put in that grave. Assalamu alaikum. But where are you going? You're going to the hereafter whether you like it or not. That's why aim to have the best in the hereafter. So in terms of jama'ah, this is the opinion of the majority. Even though there's an opinion for Ibn Taymiyyah and Ibn al-Qayyim, which says aslan the prayer it's an obligation to be prayed in the masjid. And there's even a more stricter opinion of Ibn Taymiyyah, which is said that this is the opinion of Ibn Taymiyyah, that the prayer is invalid for a person who's unexcused to pray it by himself. This is his opinion. I'm not saying that this is the right opinion, but this is an opinion. طيب. So we said that the congregational prayer is 27 times greater in reward than prayer in solitude or a person praying by himself. Now we just want to cover the leader in prayer. who is the person who leads in prayer? Sometimes you might be at work, or you come in a jama'ah, and somebody just directly goes in front and prays. Who should be the leader in prayer? Who knows? Who should be the imam? Huh? طيب, who knows Quran? طيب, what if a person has a hafiz of the Quran, he doesn't understand Arabic?
And he should know the whole prayer of
See, change. Because we have examples of a person, khalas, in terms of Quran, most beautiful voice, he knows, he memorizes the Quran from start to end, but he doesn't understand Arabic, he doesn't understand the rulings of prayer. So, should this person be an imam? So who should be an imam?
He should know the rulings of prayer.
Who should also, because he's an imam, if he makes a mistake, for example, now sujood sahu. If he makes a mistake, he was reminded. But he doesn't know, should he go back or should he continue? When does this happen? For example, like the example we mentioned, a person forgot sujood. So they're still in the first sajda. First sajda, he stood up. Now, and they're like, Subhanallah, Subhanallah. But he's standing up now. So what? He's like, okay, should I go back? Well, what do I do now? But he should have some knowledge at least, following at least. He knows what a certain madhab. Otherwise, if he's confused, he's standing up. He says, we were in a situation where the imam said salam, and then they said Subhanallah because you missed one rak'ah, or you missed two. And then he got confused, he stood up, he prayed dhuhr again, all of dhuhr. He panicked. He said, I don't know what to do. So Subhanallah, so this happens. This happens. That's why a person who wants to be an imam at least should have some knowledge of the prayer. Some knowledge of the... But nowadays, if you have a beard, خلاص directly, Sheikh, تفضل. Sheikh. Some people, they have beard, they don't even know anything, but they have a beard. They want to follow the sunnah, ya akhi. I want to follow the sunnah. I didn't say I'm an imam. I just want to follow the sunnah of the Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He goes, they're waiting for him. Sheikh, go forward, pray, jama'ah, and recite. Subhanallah, yani, this also happens. That's why, and you should be knowledgeable. That's why if you're a person who memorizes some Quran, and who knows the ruling, and you see a jama'ah, go in front. Otherwise, they'll put someone else. Unless there's an imam or someone who's knowledgeable, yes. But in general, who should be the leader in prayer? Before talking about this, masjids that have a dedicated imam is not included in this dispute. Yani, they all agree that if a masjid has a dedicated imam, like for example here in Awqaf, dedicated specific imams to be imams in certain masjids. Khalas. In this case, they have precedence to be the imams. Even if somebody prayed behind them is a scholar of Islam, still, they should be given priority, the actual imam. Because this is of the ruling of the leader, the imam of the Muslim, the imam of the country. طيب. What if the imam, Sheikh Salah, was not there and the muadhin was not there? We panic. Who should come and pray? They say a person, they disputed. Is it the person who memorized the most Quran? Or is it the person who is more knowledgeable? The Hanabila, they said the one who has more Quran. Who has more Quran and he recites it in a proper way should be an imam. The majority said no, the person who's knowledgeable. You know that this dispute did not occur at the time of the companions. There is no dispute in this matter, because at the time of the companions, the Messenger Muhammad ﷺ said, Ya Ummul Qawm aqra'uhum li kitabillah. The one who leads prayer is the one who has the most Quran, who has the best Quran citation. Then why is there a dispute? Because at the time of the companions, you cannot have a person who has the Quran and is ignorant. At the time of the companions, if a person has the Quran, he's a scholar. He understands the Quran, he understands all the details of the verses that he recites. طيب, he didn't read Tafsir ibn Kathir. Actually, Tafsir ibn Kathir will take his tafsir from this person, the companion. So the companions, when they listen to the Quran, when they recite the Quran, they understand the whole meaning, every single verse. Actually, Abu Jahl and Abu Lahab, yes, when they hear a verse of the Quran, they taste the eloquence more than us. How is this, ya akhi? Astaghfirullah, what is... Yes, because it's pure Arab. And that's why the Quran came as a challenge for them. And they were unable to challenge it with their eloquence. طيب. But anyways, at the time of the companions, the one who had more Quran definitely was the one who had most knowledge. But after them, it happened that we have people who have more Quran but they have less knowledge, and we have people who have more knowledge but not that great of a recitation of the Quran. This is where the scholars disputed. The Hanabila said the person who has better recitation, who understands the ruling, this person should be an imam. While the majority said the person who has most knowledge should be the leader in prayer. So the hadith says, يَؤُمُّ الْقَوْمَ أَقْرَاهُمْ لِكِتَابِ اللَّهِ فَإِنْ كَانُوا فِي الْقِرَاءَةِ سَوَاء. If they were in the same level of recitation, فَأَعْلَمُهُمْ بِالسُّنَّةِ. The one who has more knowledge in sunnah. طيب. فَإِنْ كَانُوا فِي السُّنَّةِ سَوَاء فَأَقْدَمُهُمْ هِجْرَةً. Who did hijrah earlier. طيب. فَإِنْ كَانُوا فِي الْهِجْرَةِ سَوَاء فَأَقْدَمُهُمْ سِلْمًا. طيب. If they were at the same time, they migrated at the same time to Medina, so the person who became Muslim earlier. Look at how the Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. طيب. وَلَا يَؤُمَّنَّ الرَّجُلُ الرَّجُلَ فِي سُلْطَانِهِ. So a person should not be an imam to another person in the other person's authority. يعني, you're in the house, you're all guests. Someone of a person, Khalid for example. Khalid invited you all طيب, to a feast. And then you prayed Isha in his house. Who is the person of authority here? Khalid. So if they were on the same level of Quran recitation, of the same level of knowledge, Khalid should be the imam based on this hadith. Because it's his house. It's his majlis. He should be the imam. Unless there was a scholar and Khalid decided to make this person imam, he can do this. This is what the hadith means. So the one who leads in prayer is the one with the most Quran. This is the opinion of the Hanabila. And the majority said the one who is more knowledgeable, even if he only memorizes some chapters. This also makes sense because if a problem occurs in prayer, the one who is knowledgeable will know what to do. Even if something happens, let's say in the middle of prayer, the imam, قدر Allah, his wudu broke. He's knowledgeable. So what does he do? He appoints someone behind. He said, Fulan, go forward and lead the people. Because he's outside prayer, his prayer is invalidated. And the people are waiting in Jama'ah. So he appoints someone behind him, go and lead the people in prayer. See, these rulings he should understand because he knows, he's knowledgeable, he knows to do. If he was someone who panics, he says, people stop prayer, your prayer is invalid. Which is wrong. You understand? That's why it's important to have knowledge if you're going to be an imam. The appointed imam for the masjid has precedence over everyone else. We mentioned this. Even if there was someone behind him who has more knowledge or is a better reciter. The leader should be knowledgeable regarding matters of salah and has a good recitation of the Quran. Can women lead other women in prayer? Yes. Women can lead other women in prayer. Aisha radiallahu anha, she used to do this. But cannot lead men in prayer, definitely. A boy who did not reach puberty, but is 7 or older. So this 7 or older, we said he is a mumayyiz, a person who comprehends, 7 or older. May not lead the congregation in an obligatory prayer. This is the Hanbali madhab. So you say, Sheikh, 7, when will this person 7 lead the congregation? No, it might happen that there's the 7 years old who mashallah is a hafiz of the Quran. And in these villages, there's no one except this person who is 7. But he memorizes the Quran and he studied. So can he lead the congregation in an obligatory prayer? The Hanbali madhab says no, he should reach puberty. But the majority will say no, he may lead the people, and this is the stronger opinion, that he may lead the people. But he should be knowledgeable. No, don't bring your son, go lead the people. He should be knowledgeable of the rulings and has some Quran recitation. We'll stop here. Inshallah, we will continue next week, inshallah, regarding the invalidation of the Imam's prayer. All the details, inshallah, we'll mention it next week. Does anyone have any questions? Apparently, not many are here. Maybe they're Umrah or exams, maybe. هذا والله أعلم، وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. جزاكم الله خير.